He's shy. He's camera shy. Oh, this is Moses.
And he's
Can you
doing
sit?
great.
Can you sit? Yeah. You may have heard about this mysterious dog illness that's spreading throughout the country. Our dog had it and survived, barely. We'll tell you the symptoms he had and how he was treated.
Yep, Mo is an Anatolian Shepherd. He's about 150 pounds, and he's now about 7.5, almost 8 years old.
Yep. Fully vaccinated, never been sick a day in his life.
Yep, but then he got sick.
And he got sick, but oddly enough, not sick enough that we would have ever even brought him to the vet at first.
Nope. We initially thought it was kennel cough.
Right. We think he got it at when he was being boarded over a short vacation that we took. We sent Mo to boarding, and we took our Labrador with us, and Mo got sick.
Yep, very typical way that dogs get this nowadays.
So his symptoms when he first got it, there was no cough, actually. He wasn't coughing at all. He was actually reverse sneezing.
Yeah, it was weird sounds. Like a honking, but not a honking that you would hear with kennel cough, and more of like a gasping thing.
Yeah, like almost like he had a hair stuck in his throat. But it was like he would do it like once a day. So we were like, oh, he must have kennel cough. He was at the kennel and he
should be over in a couple days.
Yeah, yep. So we didn't do anything because, our lab said kennel cough and he was fine. And then he tanked quickly. Over the course of about 10 hours, we went to bed. He was fine. We woke up in the morning. He was not fine.
No, so it took him a while to really go downhill. We thought he'd keep getting better day to day. He'll get better. Never quite did get better. And then one morning, it was
obvious.
Not good.
Yeah. He was doing the reverse sneezing. He had like a little discharge from his nose. And then we went to bed one night, woke up the next morning. He had thrown up. He was trying to get out of the house. He had dug up the rug by the door.
Because he didn't want to make a mess in the house.
He also was probably incredibly hot because he had a really high fever.
Yep.
But he was lethargic. That was the biggest thing that we saw was he could barely walk. And we panicked because we knew something was really wrong then.
And he had eaten up until that point. Wasn't as if he had not eaten anything for days before. He was eating a bit.
He was also kind of playing. There wasn't anything to indicate that we needed to bring him to the vet.
Urgency, yeah.
For anything other than kennel cough, which just goes away.
And now this was early, so a lot of you may have been hearing a lot about this. We had not. This was really almost a year ago now.
Yeah, in February.
Yeah, the very first kind of onsets of people going through the issue. So we had nothing to compare it to.
Yeah, and we know that there's been a lot of people vets who've been talking about it, but we've actually had a dog who had this. So we just wanted to share our experience of what happened with him. So we didn't mess with the vet. They actually told us to bring him right to an emergency animal hospital, which
was hard because he's out in the yard and does not want to come in and weighs 150 pounds. We have to get him in the back of an SUV.
And the only way we got him in was to tell him he was going to his favorite place in the world, which we can't even say right now because he's in the room and he'll think he's going there, but it's his favorite daycare place. And he mustered all of his strength, I could cry thinking about it, to get up and get himself into the car to where he thought he was going.
He made it.
And we got him to the emergency animal hospital, which is really an ER for pets. And they looked at him right away and they did 2 tests right away. The first one was they checked his O2. Mm-hmm. And that was, do you remember what that was? It was really low, alarmingly low.
In the 80s.
In the 80s.
Low 80s.
I think it was 82.
Yeah.
And
his temperature.
Yeah, they took his temperature, which was over 106.
105, I think. Somewhere.
Yeah, in that range. It was high, alarmingly high. And then they got him right in for a chest x-ray and he had pneumonia. And
the doctor spoke to us and he had seen some of this in the last couple of weeks. And, they didn't know what to call it, but they were treating dogs with it with not a whole lot of luck. And he said, look, I don't want to give you guys false hope, but it doesn't look good.
It's probably not going to make it. And he, in fact, had a dog that night before who had died from it. And he kind of gave us the rundown of, this is not good. This is what the course of treatment will be. This is not inexpensive. They were very forthcoming about the cost of it, and people think that's harsh, but it was upwards of $8,000 to save Mo's life, and he was at the animal hospital for 24 hours. because he is a large breed dog. The amount of oxygen he needed, the amount of medicine he needed, and the amount of care that he needed, and the x-rays that they were doing, and the medicine coming out that he needed to have came out to about $8,000, of which we do not have pet insurance for Moses. So they were very forthcoming with that. But they said they had seen it and they were going to try a couple of things and keep our fingers crossed and see what would work.
Yeah, and they were going to call us later that day. Initially, we had dropped him off early morning, 8 a.m. They were going to call us later in the day. And ultimately, when we heard from them, it was around 5 o'clock. And they were optimistic. So
they were optimistic. They said he was
moving in the right direction.
Yeah, he was responding well to the oxygen, and they put him on some really heavy dose medicine.
And responding well to the medicine. That's a big part of this, is that often it doesn't respond well to any of the medications, any of the antibiotics. It's, what do they call it? Resistant. And they need to pick that right one. And luckily, Mo and the antibiotic worked really well.
Yeah, and the antibiotics are different for every dog too, which is why this is so hard. So the 2 antibiotics that Mo is on, and we're not sponsors for for these companies or for these drugs. These are just the 2 that worked with Moses, were clavicillin and Baytril, and I'll list them below. But the combination of those 2 for Moses worked for him. We've had other people now that we know whose dogs have had this, and they've been seen right away and been put on medicine right away to treat whatever respiratory thing has showed up prior to it turning to pneumonia, and that seems to be a good first step.
Yeah, it seems as though if you get your dog to the vet early, everything's going to work out fine. It's when you leave it off and it festers a bit longer, that's when it really tanks. The dogs tank and they don't do well. So get them quickly to the vet and your dog should be okay.
Yeah, I don't think we've heard of a dog yet who was treated early on who got as sick as Moses did, unless there was something underlying. So don't wait. If your dog is reverse sneezing, if your dog is coughing, if your dog has foamy discharge, if your dog is lethargic, not eating, not playing, and they've been around other dogs at the park, at boarding, at daycare, at the groomer, just get them in. It is worth every penny to get that visit, get them in, and see if they need to be put on any kind of medication.
Yep. And we have a special guest here today, Moses. Come here, Mo.
Come on.
Come here. Come here, buddy.
Come here.
Come here, brother.
Hey, let me give you something. Come on.
Come
on. He's shy. He's camera shy. Oh, this is Moses.
And he's
Can you
doing
sit?
great.
Can you sit? Yeah, so this is Moe, and he's 100%. He recovered 100%.
Yeah, no ill effects, no limitations after his recovery. He's doing great.
And for that, we're so very thankful. So if you have any questions, feel free to list them below. We live in Massachusetts. Moses was treated in Portsmouth, New Hampshire at Port City Veterinary Hospital. That hospital, if you're in our area, seems to be somewhat knowledgeable about what this is because they've been seeing it since last February. But please feel free to leave us comments or questions below and we'll answer them.
And quick action. That's the key.
Yeah. Thanks.
Good luck.
Be well.